Hello and welcome to After Hours, brought to you by the Emery Hotel, the home of horology in London.
A place where we truly celebrate the art of time well spent. Joining me is none other than the brilliant author, historian and journalist, Nick Foulkes. Together we'll be sharing the heady cocktail of all the things we love most about the watch world. Tune in as we unveil the rock stars of haute horology, one-of-a-kind watch designs, an exclusive window into the world of watchmaking.
Hello, it's another episode of After Hours, coming to you from the Emery, the home of haute horlogerie. And we are delighted today to have Dr. Samuel Ross, or is it Professor? Which do you
Doctor.
prefer?
We'll go
with Doctor. We'll go with Doctor.
Samuel is absolutely fine, but an absolute joy.
We're wearing our sunglasses out of
Indeed.
pretension rather than anything else, but also to indicate that it's a bright summer's day. But I came to know you through your work for Hublot, and it's been a. How many years now has it been?
It's been a total of 6.5 years at this point. After winning the Hublot Design Prize at Serpentine Galleries, which was awarded by Hans Ulrich, we started our report on the first tourbillon development.
Tell me about that moment, because that was quite important for you as in your parcours, or whatever we call it.
No, absolutely. It was a ascent period in which I just won my second British Fashion Award at that period. The same year, I was listed as a LVMH Prize finalist in Paris for my work in fashion and this architectural language. And I was starting this report and this view that what is done on the body should serve, whether it's hard or soft. And that's where this enticement into the world of, horology really started to shape and come about.
But you started in fashion.
Yes, my background was in industrial design and I jumped over to fashion. No, I studied outside in like a really quiet university, De Montfort University in Leicestershire.
De Montfort, yes.
Yeah, but raised in a household of auteurs where my father studied at Central St Martin's and majored in fine art. My mother's a lecturer and a tutor at Goldsmiths. So this vernacular or tie-in to the arts, but practical arts, applied arts has always kind of been at the crux.
Yes. So talk us through then. This is your first one, right?
Yeah, this is where we started to work and collaborate and how we came to know one another, really. It was the tourbillon development. And actually, at the time in which this came about, I was having a conversation with Mr. Biver, who I met through Maxime, who graciously introduced me to him. And we were talking about how do we catalyze the proprietary technology and material developments that were happening in-house under the Genevan manufacturer in Hublot. So I spent a lot of time out there and I had this perspective that the innovation is there. It's more so how do we really use the youth of the company to start to disrupt and to antagonize and to push and pull with new experimental ways.
But without being gimmicky, I think is
yes.
the thing. So let's talk through. I mean, you're a details man.
Indeed.
So let's get rid of this marvelous box, marvelous though it is.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll move this. Just
put that there.
There we are.
So this is because this really is something very, very interesting. So talk us through it.
Completely so. So this is our first tourbillon that we released in 2022. You're looking at 4 different grades of titanium through to 1 to 5 at different shapes.
Okay, now you're going to talk me through every grade of titanium. What is it normally used for, and why did you use it?
Well, it's interesting because typically titanium, as we know, the tensile doesn't enable a lot of bow. If you were using like a softer metal such as a mild steel, you'd have a little bit more give. But what I wanted to focus on was this idea of pure industrial materials of the highest caliber that you particularly see within a architectural setting or environment, or within the vehicle and automotive setting, imparted onto the wrist. And to a certain degree, part of the principle and the affinity that Mr. Biver and I, and then of course the Hublot teams developed, was how do we catalyze this feeling of innovation through new grades of titanium and steel coming into the sector. Now, let alone from the material, the form itself is a completely new silhouette for Hublot. This isn't a augmented big bang Unico, which is fantastic. This is a completely new shape and form and strap development and class development.
I love the strap. It's fantastic. But talk me through the titanium again. I want to know about what are the different grades. So where do the different grades appear?
So we have grade 5 on the upper crown area there.
The upper bezel there.
Yeah, the bezel there, and you have it polished and also brushed. So of course you have the high polish of the grade 5 on the outer, and then you have the brushed finish on the top. Because I didn't want I still wanted to keep attention in terms of how we treated the grades of titanium. And then outside of the 5, you have the 3, which is used for the honeycomb perforation throughout in place.
And that's matte?
Yeah, and that has a matte finish to it as well. But it still has this soft type of brushing.
So what's the difference? What's the difference in behaviour of the metals at different grades?
So the different grades are really about different quality types fundamentally. And I wanted to make sure that there is still this sense of play in terms of how metals are being used. If it was all to be grade 5, it felt like it would have been a little bit of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Monotonous, and it would have been a bit disingenuous coming from, you know, such a erudite bucolic background to only use superfluous materials. I still wanted to keep that buoyancy.
Well, I think that what Jean-Claude did when he relaunched the brand was he made it a sort of sandwich of different things. And I mean, I think that there are 2 eras of Hublot. There's the sort of colour crooked era where basically the brand was for the Hispanophone market, and the King of Spain famously wore one. It was very big in the 80s, and it had sort of it was dying off really. And then Jean-Claude came in and made Big Bang, which was what he said it would have become had it evolved. But it was an explosion
completely.
And I think he started crudely at first because it was quite early in that you've got this sandwich of different materials, and I think that's a real signature of Hublot, isn't it? And the different titaniums, it's keeping it very Hublot.
Completely so. And I was really interested in how do we think about the relatively young age of Hublot as a maison and the pertinence of being a young disruptor in a sector. And I think that we found some type of synchronicity or some type of kinship in that prospect. You know, as we were rightly saying earlier, I kind of came into fashion on a diametric, more asymmetric point where there was a sense of maybe not disruption, but tension in terms of what was being paired.
Yes.
And that type of cataclysmic way of working has come together in how we bridge materials, you could say. So then if we go on to the second release, which was in 2024, based off the immediate success.
So how much was this one? Because my big beef is that you've never done an actually affordable watch.
We're getting there. This retailed at 150,000.
How much was this one?
This was a 150,000 GBP.
And that one?
This was also the same. So these all were flat at 150,000. They all had editions of 50 pieces. They were all
because I want to see you do what you did with Zara.
Yes, with Inditex and with Marta and Carlos.
Yeah,
yes,
I really want to see you do a. I mean, it'd still be an expensive thing, but just a watch for people like me.
For all of us, and I think that, you know, based off the success and the support, really it's the support of the watch community as a whole that has enabled these free tourbillons to live and thrive. We've now started to move, of course, into the chronograph sector. And as mentioned earlier, you know, Frederick and I spent quite a bit of time in Geneva working in particular on this model.
Well, let's talk about these ones first.
Yes.
You've also got the forged carbon here, isn't it?
Yeah, this is probably, personally, this is where there was just a lucid flow of creativity to a certain degree. There's a rhythm that the carbon fibre against the titanium creates, and the different hits of aqua blue and racing blue all compounded. But there are smaller, actually they're not really small changes, they're still quite substantial. You'll see here the clasp is redeveloped in its totality. The actual shape, the form, the finishing and the brushing, the typographic etching details, all of that starts to come into play as you see really a less of a collaboration, more so like a joint language.
Yes, but there's also you work on every aspect.
Yes,
you're not just a sub-supplier coming in with a strap at the end of it as it used to be.
We deeply care. Our studio cares. You know, the same way at Cold Wall before we, you know, scaled and opened the stores. SRA as a design studio, we are fundamentally built of architects, illustrators, and lawyers.
How many people are there now?
We're a very small team. We're a team of 8. And we live between 180 Strand and then the rural studios in Northamptonshire. And I think it's better that way. You work with really skilled, you know, specific people, and you articulate a perspective together.
So what would you say is you about these pieces, and what is Hublot?
Wow, I think that's such a great.
Indistinguishable.
No, well, I think there's definitely some type of fusing of sorts. Fusion.
Fusion, of course. We have to use the word fusion.
We have to use that word. I think what it is this focus on materiality, industrial materiality, and this focus on youth intention comes together.
That's you.
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely so. And I think that's why there was that fit which became quite clear. I remember, again, spending quite a bit of time over the years in the manufacture, looking at Magigold, looking at, you know, the titanium grades which hadn't necessarily been utilised, thinking, how do we
Magic
recompose
gold
this?
is a great thing, isn't
it's
it?
amazing, and that might be something that we then
That would
look
be
to
something.
advance.
I'd love to see you get to work on some magic gold.
Completely
I mean, the properties of that are quite amazing, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's virtually indestructible.
Exactly that. The ceramic integration, of course, with the the gold fibers and follicles, compounded.
It's brilliant. So it's a gold. Is it 18 carat?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's you can drag a diamond across it.
Well, this is the thing. It's almost like an indestructible, inscratchable. I think it's interesting there, looking at these almost, amazing heirlooms of the young maison of Hublot itself that are ready to be recontorted and re-proposed.
Yes, it's time. This time has passed I think time has passed now for there to be another stage.
Yes, completely so. And I think our vernacular, our partnership, our ecosystem that we've established across these watches has also seeped into, store design, where we've started to design exhibition spaces for Hublot. This is relatively public launch, but it's never been announced. I've spent the past 3 years working on the internal and the external facade of the Hublot manufacturer that will launch in 2028 over the past 3 years. So this partnership it's very lucid to a certain degree.
But it's also quite, I hate the word global, but there is. I mean, how do you get on with the design team at Hublot?
Oh, they're amazing. The teams are amazing. Perhaps, if I think back to my origins in the creative sector as a whole, I'd kind of worked on the periphery of really rudite industrial design studios in like Leicestershire before going into ad agencies in London, before working, of course, for Donda and for Virgil. So that way of thinking is quite natural to a certain degree, to be a part of an ID team, an industrial design team. And again, as you rightly said earlier, it's not this type of licensing IP slap.
No.
We deeply care about every prospect. Everything starts from hand before it goes into tooling or 3DM. It's quite a sacred procession, actually, in terms of being able to.
Well, you have a definite approach. Yeah. But what are the things in this watch that you are really pleased about? I mean, don't say the whole thing. I mean, what is it? Is it the winding crown? Is it the screws? What is it?
It is the weight.
The weight.
The weight is a huge unlock. The perforation and the
removal.
Unlock
is a noun, right?
Yes.
I know what it is, but I mean, I just must keep myself up to date with the latest in syntactical and grammatical usage.
Exactly. No, but the reduction of weight as a whole feels like there is an advancement there. This idea of being able to meet functional needs such as lightness, a slimmer profile on a 45 face that the tourbillon, of course, only really enables within the Hublot manufacture. But more so than that, the symptom of chasing a natural objective improvement such as the reduction of weight has led to a very strong and clear visual system.
Yes.
I think that's the principle as to why this is a design exercise more so than
it is a design solution that yields a visual identity.
Exactly that, even down to the rubber extrusions which sit on the crown itself.
Yes, I was wondering about that because that is a big point of interaction between the wearer and the watch.
Absolutely, and how do we make that engagement just a little bit more palpable, a little bit softer, a little bit more haptic? How do we add a little bit more just texture overall, and also temperature shifts between, again, the temperature of the rubber, which is a little bit warmer against the steel and titanium composites. Those little, moments really matter.
Yes.
They really matter.
They matter, and also the thing is that the person who's wearing it won't know what care has gone into it, but they will appreciate the overall result. I mean, people are not silly. The people who can buy these things will know what they're buying, but they don't know exactly how the magic is there, and it is down to that deep thinking of every touch point, and it's something that you wear, and it's so close to your skin. And
yes, yeah.
So, what are you going to work on next?
Well, at the moment, we've just finished the architectural manufacture with Hublot, and we've just finished the all-black chronograph, which is the first chronograph that we've established. A small run of 200 on this, which retails at around £25,000.
God, you're almost getting into affordable territory. Careful, Samuel.
We're trying to get there. There is still a socialist spring in me that I'm trying to, disseminate throughout all of the work. Next, I'm about to show some new sculptural works in Selfridges, which is coming up in the next week or so on June the 12th.
That'll have to be cut because it won't be going out anytime soon. So
yeah.
but what about the watches? I mean,
yes.
Were you interested in watches before you did this?
Do you know, I didn't have an access point into being able to purchase watches prior, coming from like a pretty much a liberal arts family household, father a painter and stained glass procurer.
Yeah.
Mother,
not exactly a high remuneration.
This is it, right? There were choices that were made which more so focused on elastic ways of operating within the arts. But my early childhood was built up of homebrew culture, building computers with my father. A lot of time was spent in his stained glass and lead workshop. So this prospect and closeness to making has always really been at the crux of a sense of self to a degree.
So how now you won these awards, and then how did you get picked up? How did it sort of?
Well, it's a really good talking point actually. The initial intent of a designer or an artist when they win an award is typically to just have access to the funds, right?
Yeah.
And then the funds are dispersed however they wish to disperse them. Sometimes for just causes, sometimes for lay causes.
Yeah.
In this case, my intent was more so to keep in front of the board itself, and then to share a principle of this is what what is currently being produced, and I think I have a perspective or potentially a gift of where it could go. How can I best be of service to bringing that into reality? As I think there's an untapped position, and in doing so, it may give access to a new market of sorts that is starting to emerge.
But you're very respectful of the I mean, that because there's no sort of naivety about this. You know I mean, often you sort of get people who like. I mean, I couldn't design a watch. I love watches. I've been around them for 50 years or so. But I couldn't design one because it is down to just such. It's a proper skill, isn't it? And you have to come at it with great humility, I think. I think
you raise a really great point. I've spent so much time with the artisans, understanding what is possible, what is not possible, and understanding that my position as a designer, not as an actual horologist here, is to ensure that the ideas remain very lucid, very abstract, to determine what can be produced more so than try to replicate what has come before. Some of the early sketches, charcoal sketches and drawings and inkwell sketches, you had all types of absurdities that were there more so as an exercise to see how far we can go as a starting point. I'm talking about floating mechanisms and all types of rare materials being brought into play to then work back to a point of revelation.
Actually, manufacturability, if that's a word, which it isn't a word. But I mean, because it is interesting that you. Why is this watch so expensive?
Well, it's the
apart
time.
From they need a nice margin.
It's the restrictions and the time and the setting and the tooling and the risk which goes into being able to commercialize a completely new tool from the start. And then it's also this principle of how do you almost work with, at that particular time, the new generation of auteurs and creative seers and enfants terribles to your vantage point. A lot of it is about the lucidity and the positioning of that coming into play. Yeah,
but I think that there are what I'm trying to get at is the things that make it, that are difficult to do.
Yes.
I mean, what I want to do is I mean it's a real bugbear I've got with you, and I've said to you always I want you to do something. I want you to see you work in the sort of
democratic
£10,000 bracket.
Yes.
That's a lot of money still, but unless you're at the Emery, of course, when it's loose change. But I think you see. I mean, I think you've got something here that what is different about this watch that makes it a £25,000 watch, and this makes. I mean, what have you industrialized? In that this is although it looks like a very technical product, it's more of an artisanal product.
Completely so. Yeah, this is an exercise in creative thinking to a certain degree.
Yeah.
This
and it was successful, by the way, wasn't it?
Yeah. All of those were allocated. That's 150 watches.
Yeah, and you're buying a proper design object there.
Exactly that. And those released once every 24 months or so. Yeah. They're incredibly well, and you can see that there's a rhythm between the changes and the developments, whether it's the face or the clasp or the strap, throughout each of its communications. Also, the physical experiences that are tied to the release of the watch is always lend from my work in installation art, whether that's the shows at the Met or White Cube. It's about trying to ensure that when someone is entering the space in which they will engage with the watch, there's an entire rhetoric and euphoria in the space that they enter. And
so it's like a mise en scène. You're doing the whole, you're doing the theatre as well as the play.
Every surface that will take some type of detail we wish to leverage to our advantage to deliver a deep experience. When it comes to the chronograph is almost the to a certain degree, to the market, it feels like a reward and a gift to be able to deliver the chronograph, because we've had, such a cult following build around the tourbillons. It's the right time to not exhaust one mechanism, but actually take that thinking and apply it in a new light to a Unico movement, another in-house movement, a new movement of sorts. And to a certain degree, the amount of time we put into the rhetoric and the intent strategically of the chronograph and what you want from a chronograph. If I'm wearing a beautiful ceramic chronograph such as this daily, it needs to be hard wearing, it needs to be enduring, it needs to be durable, it still needs to be...
It also needs to be legible. Is it legible?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't necessarily interested in the complete legibility. What I wanted to focus on was the feeling of endurance and stealth, and the feeling of what it is to put on a jet black watch that we've all dreamed about for so long. Because of course we it's partly blasphemous, but we do still kind of flick out our phones to check the time.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But the intent of a £25,000 watch that is hard wearing, enduring, with a coated ceramic.
Would you ever? Are you ever going to get to the place of doing just a time only 3-hand or two-hand watch?
I'd love to. No, I would absolutely love to. And I'm also, I think in the back of my mind, I'm quite focused at the moment on like leather strap watches and looking at how different material composites come into play.
But that's not a Hublot thing, is it really, leather? I mean, they've done some, but they've done rubberized sort of crocodile stuff like that.
They have a crocodile strap on the Uniqlo which has like rubber cladding on the end.
It's a fantastic one for swimming in. It's great.
But I'm now thinking, how do we advance the material story forward as we move into the chronograph territory and a slightly more democratic price point, as you rightly said, so people can access. And I think it's that tension between, again, asymmetric ideas and thinking within the space, but also making sure that it still remains a view. It keeps a view of attainment almost.
Yeah, you've got to keep. You can't dilute it. I mean, that's the problem. I think dilution is a big problem, isn't it? As you get to a sort of not mass market product, but a broader market product. I didn't notice this. You got blue and white indices.
Yes.
Oh, that's what I love about these things, is that you think you know it, and then something else reveals itself.
And gradually, it all comes to light. So much time was spent. I mean, this was, the complete colour profile material set was probably finished at 2 a.m. in the morning with, 2 kilos of incense burning in the room with music blaring out loud. It would have been,
it does give that impression.
It does, doesn't it? It would have been Miles Davis blared out very, very loud. Rest in peace. It was his birthday actually the other day. We actually shared the same birthday, 26th of May.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Thank you to him too. And interestingly, the play on iterative development across these watches, there is a system in play. I'm not trying to just retell, regurgitate the same narrative. Each offers a distinct development, whether it's the first, which has, as we know, much more of like a TPU, TPE casing system, and the second, which went purely into titanium casing throughout, and the third, which then started to bring titanium and brushed carbon fibre together and a new clasp. That intent of ensuring there is actually
a development,
a true development.
It's a development. It's an unfolding of a story. It's not. Totally. It's not actually saying that the first one is inferior. No. It's just different.
Exactly. And I think being a young designer, part of the prospect of being able to grow with a sector and have support in a sector is that people can see that you are a living and breathing entity. And I think that's perhaps one of the interesting, tenets of working with Hublot. Them being so young, we can both grow together in our contributions within the space.
It's interesting you say that, because I've a friend of mine in Zimbabwe who wants to import these actually, because he's seen a real joy in it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a real joy in these things, and I think what's interesting about Julian being so open is that I mean, who would have thought Hublot jaw jackets?
I know, it's very exciting.
So what will you take anything from the manufacturer and put it in there? Will you be doing the buttons or something like this, or what?
I think there'll be interpretive aspects. Yeah, I can see the honeycomb.
I mean, I'm not saying you put a massive Hublot sign on the back, but
we'll make sure there's a T-shirt there for the youth.
T-shirt, baseball cap, and
exactly,
bathing costume. but what will you have references? I mean,
I think at the moment I've been quite obsessed with vintage French draw jackets from the 40s in particular. And I think the reinvention of, actually I wrote a white paper for a Gestaline book which is releasing soon about the bucolic importance and pertinence of the return of workwear for this particular era.
What are those knives, the clasp knife you get in France on the wooden hand where you twist it?
Yes, yeah, like these, I think there's so many different tenets and aspects to integrate in, and as we were rightly saying with the watches, they'll be revelatory. Gradually over time you'll start to see these little openings and these darts and twin needle stitches and zigzags come into play, and different ounce weights and different hand-dyed components. But to a certain degree, like, I see the jacket as an incredible representation of the maker's hand, and I think there's something there with the closeness and the practice of making as a group.
But it's making. I mean, I think it's George Daniels who said that you should make it by hand and then it should not look like it's been made by hand.
Yes, I think that's so well summarised. This prospect of, this is a auteur's practice. It's an artisan's craft-based practice. Fundamentally, it is craft. It all falls under that umbrella.
It is craft, even though, I mean, it's no cuckoo clock, even though no cuckoo clock came from Germany, but it's no cuckoo clock, and yet it looks like it's come from the future.
Completely so.
And it's actually come from the past.
Indeed, and we must keep it lucid and keep that tension rod in place.
And how fluid do you keep things during the design process? At what time do you have to say enough is enough and pre-launch? Because they've got long lead times, these things.
I will go to the 9th hour. I'll go to the very bitter end. Before that purchase order or bulk material needs to be, shipped, and before the raw materials need to really be locked in, I will go as far as we can physically go. And it's the same whether it's the sculptural works when I'm working with the fabricators in Southeast, or whether it's the footwear that we work with Nike for years. It's always up to that very last moment.
So it's the most current. It's the most current. It's the most current thing in your mind. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And towards the end of a process, I always try to ensure that there is some type of, I've said this word a few times, but it is quite important, like a lucidity to a certain degree. So you're almost kind of tapping into quite a radical free spirit towards the end of a process. If I can make a very basic analogy, it's a bit like extra time in a football game or something. Exactly like that. I don't watch football, so I don't know, but same. But you want that final push.
You want the extra moment then inspiration comes. Well, look, I think that's brilliant.
It's been an absolute joy, Nick. And again, this has been a collaboration we've worked on in discussion for the past half decade, which has been an absolute honour and joy to do so. And here's to many more.
But that's what I like about the watch industry. It's a long-term thing.
Totally so.
And that's it's not. I mean, fashion. You've got so many seasons now.
It turns. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, you got pre-fall cruise. As well as winter and summer. What do you got? Spring.
I mean, then you've got your drop schedules.
Drop schedules. Yes, drop schedules. Yes. God, that's a nightmare.
But there is definitely a pull and a return to the artisan's way of making, and we are seeing consumers want that closeness to the maker, and that I'm very excited about as we bring that into our practice.
Because I think it is about you want to see the character of the individual who made it. Yeah. In the thing, I like certain things because I know the person who made it, and I know what they're getting at.
Yeah, this if any type of eudaimonia is to be brought about, it's based on reciprocity. Yeah. And if there is no caucus to bring that forward, then we lose our sense of self, and that closeness is absolutely
because it is a very human object, even though it looks not inhuman, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's anamorphic to a degree.
Brilliant. Well, look, thank you ever so much for coming in.
Absolute joy.
Really great to see you, and just work on that less expensive watch.
We're getting there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Great to see you.
Pleasure.